Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Drive Home Podcast. The podcast where I am the only one who needs to wear a seatbelt, and I'm also the only one here, just to reiterate. I don't know how I need to reiterate. It's near episode 30 now. It's gotta be. I can tell but, you know, it's gotta be near there, if nothing else. So I just got out. It's 9 o'clock and I'm on my way home. I have a short week this week. I work 4 days and at least 2 or 3 of them are 4-hour days, which is kind of bugging me because it's not even 20 hours. So that's not a lot of work. Which, like, don't get me wrong, not working is fine, but not making money is not okay. So, my family and stuff has been telling me that maybe I should get a new job, and it's just like, I don't know. I got friends where I work, I know what to do where I'm working at. They might sometimes give me off weeks, but it's usually not this bad. So, I don't know. Usually I end up working for most of the day, not like 4 hours. But if it does stay this way, I am definitely going to have to start considering getting a new job somewhere. Which threatens the life of this podcast, because depending on where I get a job, the podcast either gets longer or it gets too short to exist. Because I am not driving around for 20 minutes going nowhere. As long as this podcast, isn't taking off. Because, if this could make me money, sure, I'll waste the gas money on a 20-minute drive. But, if this if this isn't gonna, I want to keep doing this, but this is something I just started because I had the free time. What else am I gonna do? I'm literally just going home from work. Also, for those of you who are informed, I definitely dropped the F-bomb in the last episode. Whoops. That's an oopsie on my part. I did not mean to do that. It just came out. I mean, it's not bad. It's not like a slur or anything, but still. I try not to swear too much, or at least not, excessively. And definitely saying that word is, I try not to. I think, since it's only one, it should be fine. But I usually am able to hold it back. I can't even remember why I said it. I just remember it came out at some point and I was like, oh no. I mean, it's fine. It's not it should be fine. It's 18 minutes in. Who's gonna watch 18 minutes in or something? I don't remember how long it is into the video, but it's near the end. It's within the last probably 5 minutes or more, something like that. But, that kind of language is not stuff I'm trying to use here. Because, when I'm among friends, it's probably one of the most common words we use. Just especially because, we're going to be playing a fighting game later. It's Melty Blood or something. I don't know. All I really know about the game is my brother's had it for a while because I think my other friend figured out about it and he said there's a funny character in the game called Nekoark. And so my brother ended up getting the game and then we ended up playing the game one of the times that we spent the night over. We played it at some point one of those days when we were spending the night at their house. So we had a lot of fun with it. So we decided that we'd all get it on Switch, because that's one of the only things we can. That's the only console we can all play games together on. Because I don't have a PlayStation. Like, my brother does, but I'm fairly certain PlayStation doesn't like local co-op. So, and most games don't like local co-op, to be fair. So there's this game. I don't know if I mentioned it. I honestly have no clue if I mentioned it. But there's this game that I haven't been playing much of recently, just because it's kind of like a mood game. Like, I need to be in the right mood to play it. But it's called Cassette Beasts, and it's sort of like, I feel like I mentioned it recently. I think I was just talking to a different friend about it, but it's kind of like Pokemon, but like with music, and it's cool, and it's like pixel, like, you know, it's not like fancy graphics or anything, but it's kind of like a feel-good game in a sense. I have no idea about legendaries or anything. I don't know. They have some interesting like types and stuff, and the type chart is kind of confusing. Like they have, I think, I guess that one's not. They have, I want to say Astro or something. It's like space. I don't know how to describe that as an element. There's also glitter, which just turns everything else into glitter. And if glitter gets hit by anything, it turns into that type, which is really interesting. I don't know. It's more of a technical game in a sense, but it's really interesting. And recently, there's an update for it that added online multiplayer. And usually the battles and stuff in the game are conducted as like a 2v2, and usually you have like an assist person, like NPC character that has their own story and stuff. And each of the assistant characters has their own starters or unique creatures, I guess cassette beasts. And the reason it's called cassette beasts is because you transform into them and instead of using Pokeballs to capture them, you use a cassette recorder and you record them onto a cassette. And it's a little weird, but the typing and all that stuff is really interesting. And there are like unique evolutions if you do certain actions, and one of the only ways to find that out is like there are certain books in the game that if you like read them, they'll be like, oh well, you know, it'll give you like a vague hint, like this thing will happen if you do this thing. Like I forget specifically, but I think it's like a masked snake will evolve if it knows like a flying type move or something into a different creature. And some creatures have like choice evolutions. So the starters, the main starters, I guess, have a couple. So like they have like, would you like to be like, so when you first get them, it's like, you know, what do you like, candy or dreams or something? I don't remember. And depending on that choice, you get like one of two, and then those ones each have their own 2 or 3 splits. So when they first evolve, I think they have one, and it's at least so for the sheep one, it has either flying or more grounded, I guess. And I chose the flying path because I figured there would be more advantages, and in a sense there was, because its typing became astral or something, which beats the base element, like it beats natural elements like water, earth, fire, grass, but it's actually extremely weak to unnatural elements, which consist of plastic, which is a type in the game, poison, and what's the plastic, poison, and like the steel. Yeah, it's called steel. It's a steel one. Poison is like exclusively weak to fire, which I find interesting. That's something like, so poison is sort of like electricity in a sense, where it's exclusively weak to fire, and the types and the moves are kind of, so like each creature can only have like one type, but once you have a second person with you, if you get them to a certain stage, you can do it's relatively early in the game that you unlock it at first. You can fuse with them, and so you will fuse your guys into one guy, and they will have the combined twos. Like it will have access to both of their moves and both of their base types. So if you use two creatures with different types, they become one creature with two types. Now, I have no idea what that does for types or resistances. But so it's weird because it don't really have it doesn't really say like resistant to or strong against, but more like what their interactions cause, because it's more like what their interactions do. So if a fire type uses its move against an ice type, it melts. The ice melts, and it becomes a water type for like 3 turns. So it's kind of a more technical thing. And if a fire type uses a fire type move on a, well, it doesn't have to be a fire. If you use a fire type move on a water type, it gets like healing every turn for the 3 turns or something. When Astral is hit by either earth, grass, fire, or water, or whatever, it gains additional action points per turn or something. The only downside is that there are a decent amount of anti-astral type moves. Like you can come across a lot of poison, steel, and plastic types. And then, oh yeah, if you use a fire type on a plastic type, it melts and it becomes poison. And then poison types are weak to fire types anyway. So fire types are pretty much always have a fire type on you, honestly. There's something that can become a fire type or has a fire type move set. You can have a lot of moves. You have move slots, and certain moves you can equip. So the moves in the game are called stickers, sort of. So they're called stickers, and you apply the stickers to your cassette tape. It doesn't usually change how the cassette tape looks, but it's still it's how the game mechanic works. And certain you can earn moves that have that are upgraded, so they might say +1 duration on them. So if the move itself would have a duration effect, let's say, so there's an ability there's a move that creates a wall, right? So and everything in the game, when it's used, it lasts for 3 turns, and you can stack stuff so it'll last longer. But the general ness is that it will last for 3 turns with nothing special. And I don't think there aren't abilities or whatever, there aren't passive abilities the same way there are in Pokemon. Instead, they just have, it's completely unique. Calling it Pokemon is sort of an insult, honestly, to it. It's just the closest thing to compare it to in my head. And, they're sort of just like wild animals, but not really. I say wild animals. They're not wild animals, but they're they're sort of like Pokemon, where they don't really have sentience. They're not at the same level of communication as humans. the whole gist of the game is there's lots of side quests and all the stories, and the music in the game is phenomenal. For how like small of a soundtrack it is, it's phenomenal. Honestly, I love that game. I'd play it more, but I'm sort of a multiplayer gamer, so I tend to play multiplayer games. And at least these days, I've got anime to watch now, so I will, like... And because I like listening to that game, I try to play it and do nothing else when I play it, or at least not to watch or listen to anything else. So what'll end up happening is I'll actually not end up playing it as much because I have other stuff to listen to, which for me it sucks, but you know, it is what it is. Highly recommend it. It's called Cassette Beasts. I love it. It's a great game. And so, well, I got my brother into it a little bit, and he chose the other starter, which was like a candy devil creature. It's really cute. I haven't seen it evolve or anything, but it seems interesting. Honestly, I might make a new save at some point. Like, I haven't beaten the game or gotten anywhere near it. Well, I don't say anywhere near it, but I have definitely gotten a big chunk of it done. There's like 12, I don't want to say gym fights, but like there's these like leaders of the resistance, sort of, that you're a part of, that you need to fight and be like acknowledged by. And they each have their own mechanics, but not their own monster types. They don't use monster types. What they use is specific move types, which is really interesting. I think that's a really interesting thing, because there's one guy who will like exclusively use like walls, and the thing about walls is that like you can't really pierce through them, which is annoying. But so the walls have elements, and so what you can do against walls is if they're of a certain element, like if it's a I think if it's a poison wall or something and you use fire on it, you should be able to like either deal damage through it anyway, or it will like erase it. Like if you use something that's super effective against the wall, it will like erase it instantly, basically. Which, well, I say instantly. It will still act like a protect, but that's about it. And then also, you can actually, so one of the interesting things is you can change your type on purpose in battle. So depending on so there are moves that have no specific element, and those moves become the element of your, creature, I guess. So since my sheep became like an astral sheep, it all of its moves that would be like normal, or like they don't really have a type out. Actually, they don't. The moves that don't have a type become your type. So it would become. So I have a bunch of astral moves on my sheep. But you can also have coding moves that actually change the type of your creature. And one of the assistant characters' creatures actually uses that. So it's like what they'll do is they'll so if they have a move that will go last at the end of like a turn or whatever. But what if they have like it's called a coding, I guess. COATING. But what will happen is there will be if there's an enemy that you want to change the typing of, and if you have like a move that changes your typing. If you use it, it will apply your typing to the enemy with the same amount of like stacks, basically, that you have on your creature. And it uses like a paintbrush. It's really interesting. There are lots of really interesting moves in that game. I think it's really cool. There's even ghosts, and there's like a really specific, like, you can't hit ghosts, but you can become a ghost type, which is scary. But there is a way to hit ghost types. You have to find a passive ability which you equip into like a move slot. But all it does is like, okay, your attacks will now hit like the ghosts. But you know, because the ghosts where like they're, so it's just the same, like it's other creatures, but they have like a move that turns them into a ghost, or they're in an area that turns them into a ghost. Which is interesting. Anywho, I've gotten home, so that will be the end of this episode of the Drive Phone Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you like what you heard, I hope you check out Cassette Beasts, because honestly, I think it's a fun game. The only thing I know about it for sure is that you can find it on Xbox and Switch. Well, Xbox One and Switch. Xbox One and above. And Switch. I have no idea about the PlayStation. It's probably on Steam, though. I wouldn't know. I don't check. I don't really have, like, a computer that can use Steam. So, I don't use Steam. So, well, that'll be the end of this episode. Again, for the real this time. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you'll join me next time where I talk about something else. But maybe I won't. Maybe I'll continue talking about this. It's really interesting. I just don't want to spoil the story, because there's an interesting story, I think. I guess it depends on, like, what you think about it. But, like, the music in the game is amazing. Like, the character portraits and the characters and like the monsters, and like, as far as from what I know of the story, is awesome. Because there are some bits I left out for like pure, like, don't want to spoil it reasons. So go try it out. It's a lot cool. It's very cool. I love it. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.